Hello, dear friends. Welcome to our online classes, Education 3000 online classes. This is level 2. I am Noémie Paimal. And today we see a wonderful subject. We will see also current changes, especially in the brain and the DNA. And yes, definitely, according to all those findings, it's a good idea to change education. So let's begin. DNA and current changes. There is a researcher, she's called Mary Wanderkerkove. She's a psychologist and an educator from the Ghent University, and this is Belgium. And she says the human being basically had 3 steps in the evolution process. And she calls the first step is Anoeticus experience. Second one is noetic experience and awareness. She says awareness. And the third one is Autonoeticus awareness or consciousness. So it's like steps of awareness and consciousness. The first one is very basic, and we still have it somehow, and it's good to consider it in education too, to make sure this brain is not controlling us. She said that Anoeticus experience. Is an ablative, meaning without. So it's like a level with very little consciousness, and it's more a level of motor and procedural level, basic emotions, homeostasis, the regulation of the metabolism all by itself, the 5 senses, and it has to deal basically with the reptilian brain and the STAR system. STAR is a reticular activating system, which is basically behind the brainstem and this part of the brain. And that would be where the information will go first and then will be processed by the neocortex. And then from that level, she says, we go on to the next one, which is more the emotional part. Everybody is linked to the limbic system of the second brain, the emotional brain. And she called that the noetic awareness. And it's, of course, linked with emotional intelligence, affective and creative level. And it's linked to the limbic brain and a part of the neocortex. And then she said there is a third level, and this is interesting because this is where I think we are right now. And it's called autonoetic consciousness. And so it means self-consciousness. And I think it's exactly what humanity is going through now. And we can see it a lot with the children and the young people. It's like a self-awareness, self-consciousness. Auto means self. And it's linked, among others, thing to the activation of the frontal lobe. And we saw that in the first level. Remember, frontal lobe or fourth brain. And it's linked to a higher level of consciousness. So considering that, of course, education has to open. Actually, it's opening right now to other level of thinking, processing, feeling, emotional intelligence, all the contents as well, and opening up a lot. And that's very good news. As I told you before, I am an anthropologist, and we do think not only about the autonoetic consciousness, because we see it every day with the children and young people, and with the criteria, and with the way they process things and process information and link things together. It's called associative intelligence, linked with lateral thinking intelligence as well. So definitely the education has to leap forward, to make a quantum leap to more flexible and, in France, is agile, like more faster and broader. Autonoetic consciousness. And then it leads us to self-investigation and self-learning as well. for instance, self-math. And the kids are very good at that as well. Always linked with the emotional issues and nice environment. There is another proposal, and it's very interesting, from Dr. Nicolas Lujan. He is from Argentina. And he said, actually, he sees two circuits, the old one and the new one. And he researched a lot of education and the current children, the children of today, and medicine. He said one way to see things is called that, this is called the secular tendency circuit, which means evolution circuit. And he would say a little bit like Marie, the researcher from Belgium. First, he said the reptilian brain and the limbic brain, which is the second brain, emotional brain, was more on the surviving mode. And that means survival mode, food, territory, reproduction, efficient and use of little energy, because it was almost on automatic. And now the second one, it concerns the limbic brain, which is the emotional one, and neocortex, plus frontal lobe. And he called that the transcendental level. And he said this is a more recent circuit, and you can see it a lot with the children. This circuit before was less efficient and used more energy. It's like, you see, when you have a very tough class on philosophy and it's hard to understand and you use a lot of energy in this process, that's the new circuit. But now this new circuit is more activated, and actually Dr. Nicolas Lujan says with the children of today, this circuit is more efficient and use less energy. That was the children and the young people, they are so fast and they process rapidly information and they are not tired. I mean, it seems they never get tired or not, especially when it's 11 o'clock at night. And that's very good news. And it talks as well, and we saw that in the class before, about metadatas, meta-languages, and to receive the information in, it's called a package, when you have a bunch of information at the same time, and it's called metadata or mega languages. The way it's processed as well is very fast. It's linked to associative intelligence and lateral thinking. We saw that before. And the way it's expressed outside as well. And it's parallel thinking, meaning they can think and process many things at the same time. So definitely education should attend that capacity. It's very nice. It would be like in the future we have executive, multitask, empathic, humanitarian, expert, and with a lot of empathy. That's more or less where we are leading to. And this is very, very, very interesting. And it's linked, according to those researchers, and as well, this is based on Russian research, it's linked to the DNA and hypercommunication. As we know, the DNA, we don't use that much of our DNA. I think 2/3 we don't even use, it's called the junk DNA. And from the DNA we have, maybe 6% will be activated. So it's very little. And to have this huge amount of genetic codes, it means it has to be used, it has to be awakened. And this is what we are doing right now, as a person and as humanity. So let's go back to our DNA class. Remember, the DNA is, I love this word, it's deoxyribonucleic acid, responsible for containing all the genetic information of an individual or a living being. And this information is unique and irreplaceable. In each being, since the combination of the elements is uniquely constructed. So can you imagine, just on the physical level, we are completely, all of us, unique. Except maybe for real twins, but even that. And the combination is In English can be adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, something like that. And this is amazing. The combination of the length of the DNA is huge. And definitely we are unique. It's a huge amount. Actually, if you stretch a DNA strand, it will be at least 7 meters. It is huge, huge database. It's like a library, gigantic library. From where is this from? Our DNA. Yeah, father, mother, and then grandparents, and then it goes back, grandparents, and then it goes back maybe to the beginning of humanity, and we have all this storage, all this information inside of us. So when somebody like Socrates will say, know thyself, it makes sense. Let's consider DNA like a huge library, and let's consider an education we can get access to that. Oh my God. Well, this is level 2. That's why I can tell you all this information. And then there is another a very interesting thing about this. This is an information from Dr. Gracie Rodriguez from Venezuela, and she said about a double via cellular membrane. Double via, it would be like information can go to the DNA, and the DNA can give information outside of the cells. It's like it's a receptor, it's like an antenna that can receive and give information to everybody, to the humankind as a species and to the universe, basically. So this is our membrane, and you see it can goes out and in. It's a beautiful piece of bioengineering, and you have that inside of each cell of us. Then let's move on the multidimensional DNA. That's the research from Russia I told you about. They say DNA has a vibration behavior, and they say it's like a solitonic wave. Like the information is a frequency. And a soliton actually is a solitary wave that spreads without deforming on a non-linear medium. Meaning, my DNA can collapse or I'm dead, and then this information goes on because it's a solitonic nature. See, that's the blue dot. Oh, we have even more here. Then the other attribute, okay, DNA as a wave attribute that leads us to unknown dimensional storage and communication, definitely. And it can be multidimensional. And 2, the DNA helps us with the bodybuilding. That's the genome. That's what we know with regular science, let's say. It stores information. And this is the nice news. DNA reacts to words and sound. So it means they say this research that 90% of our DNA follows human language pattern. So that's when Pygmalion effect. Remember when you think something or project something on somebody and it will happen. We have more chance that would happen. The positive thinking, positive words, positive thoughts, special song, mantra, positive affirmation, definitely could help with the DNA and should be included in the learning process. Actually, that's a proposal of Dr. George Losanov from Bulgaria, and the proposal is called Suggestopedia, and you're using that in the learning process. Let's go on. Russian scientists say that the DNA can receive activation pattern even in the vacuum, producing black holes or wormholes. let's say you put the DNA in a box, you put the, it's empty, vacuum, total vacuum, and you can still activate the DNA. So that means those black holes, to them, the information can be transmitted outside of time and space, meaning me here on Earth, I can receive information from the other side of the galaxy, according to that. The DNA extracts those bits of information and pass them on to our consciousness. So it's like a beautiful piece of bioengineering when you can transmit consciousness and information to a human body, and we realize and we learn and we are conscious of it. That's why the first slide about consciousness, Autonoeticus, awareness or consciousness. And this is exactly what's happening now in a bigger scale, in a bigger scale for the whole humanity, starting with the children, of course, and young people. And then they go on with hypercommunication. We saw that with Dr. Carl Greenbram in the first level. And hypercommunication is like you receive information in a package. It's like the quantum computer when you have a bunch of information at the same time. They say like that. DNA would function as an apparatus on a device for hypercommunication, where information is passed interdimensionally more and more. That's what the Russian scientist says. More and more children are born with this incredible ability. And it's clear, or clear and clear, that it has to do with DNA change. So let's investigate that. Let's do some research. It's definitely will open beautiful possibilities. The beautiful new creative education, definitely, where education is linked to raise of consciousness, to know thyself, to I think to a quantum leap as a human being, meaning going from the sapiens sapiens, Homo sapiens sapiens, to the next Homo. If that's so, we are entering the best stage of evolution of not only education, of the whole society and humanity and the planet. So thank you so much to be together. Let's investigate. Please do your research. It's not a couple of slides I want to put together. I invite you to know more and be excited about it. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much. And I see you on the next video. The next video, it's very nice. It's about architecture, Architect 3000, how to build schools or centers. And that's a very beautiful subject. See you.